Okay,
Make sure your mic's unmuted.
it's on. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Sorry, Kevin.
Nope.
Library roll call, see who's here.
We have 4 board members present in person, and then Emma DeVos is present via Zoom, and Susan Sharks is excused. So we have a quorum.
Thank you, Kevin. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have no additions.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So moved.
We have second by Deb, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Minutes from the last board meeting.
The minutes are, I'm showing them on the screen, and I distributed them after our last meeting. Did anybody have any corrections that they saw needing to be made?
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last board meeting.
Second it?
Second by Deb again. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. On to the director's report. Kevin?
Okay, first, since we didn't do this at roll call, I would like to introduce Max Velasquez to everybody. If you haven't met Max, Max is our new adult and young adult services librarian. Max came to us from California, and before that he was in Hawaii, and before that he was in California. So we're excited to have him here, and he's been busy more than dipping his toe in the water. I think he's up to his knees already. So, Max, do you want to say anything?
Sure. So,
This isn't your report time. This is just introductions and greetings and get to know me.
so I came here from the city of El Cerrito, a little ways north of Berkeley. Prior to that, I was living in Honolulu. That was through grad school and my first dipping my toe into public libraries. I started working at the University of Hawaii at Manoa first as a paraprofessional as a student, and then for a year or so, still as a paraprofessional, but after graduation. And then I moved on to filling in mostly the Kaimuki Regional Branch in Honolulu as a library technician, children's librarian, young adult librarian, adult librarian, whatever we need to do. And a few years later, here I am, taking over as adult and young adult.
Yeah. So,
Right. Thank you. Nice to have you here.
It is.
Glad to be here.
yes. So we have written report, my written report, a few points there. And I also wanted to make everyone aware that Denny Geidel, who has been the building maintenance custodial staff member for many years, for over 15 years, he will be retiring December 20th.
Do you hire, or is that a city position?
Well, yes and yes.
Okay.
It is a city
Collaborative.
position, but, I've submitted the paperwork already, probably a month ago, to get it, to get it approved to be filled. So, we need to get, so I'll be talking to Liz now at the beginning of the month to say, okay, when do we start? Because it would be nice, to have no in-between time, but I'm not sure if that'll happen. And Denny, this was Denny's kind of retirement career. He retired at age 65 from being a longtime mechanic, and he's been with us for over 15 years. So you can do the math.
Do we do anything special for retiring board
Well,
staff members?
I need to ask him if he wants just something in the library with the library staff, or if he wants something citywide, because, oftentimes, employees may have something here, if they know a lot of people in the city. And he's worked also with the Corn Palace staff. He's done fill-in work, and, for Corn Palace concerts and stuff, they ask him to help out. So he does extra work. So that may be something he may want, or he may just want to have something small, right? So that's something I do need to ask him. So any questions about my report? I will talk more about strategic planning during the committee report. And then we have Max's written report. And he's talked about what a little bit about himself and what he's been doing in various areas. And I know he handed out his report, and he also took a look at numbers. So Max, do you want to say anything more specific?
Yes. So as far as the circulation numbers go, the biggest dip that I noticed was with circulation numbers, the biggest dip that I noticed was with audiobooks, but I'm chalking that up to CD players being more or less obsolete at this point. So that wasn't a surprise, and that was more than made up for in the Libby numbers as well, both YA and adult audiobooks. Other than that, adult nonfiction has seen a bit of a drop, and YA nonfiction has seen a bit of a gain, but both nonfiction categories are going to get weeded pretty mercilessly. Adult nonfiction, because we need to create more space for the children's collection, so right now I'm up to 397. Zach had gotten through the 100s and 200s, so once the actual is done, then I can compress it down to something that will allow Gene a little bit more growth through, because juvenile is bursting at the seams, and there's not really much opportunities for reading over there. Following that, like I said, I'm going to be merciless in young adult nonfiction simply because it does not circulate that well. Ebooks, 36 of those over the last year for young adult nonfiction in print, 140 over the last year, and that is a pretty good gain compared to 22-23, which was under 120. But just at the quick glance that I've taken, a lot of that material is on the older side. I'll retain the new stuff, and I won't get rid of everything, but I don't see a good reason not to compress it down to just a couple of racks of shelving, so that I have more growth room for YA fiction and I have other plans for that space as well. Gene and I have been talking about moving intermediate books for the middle grades for those kids who are not quite sure, do I still belong on the juvenile side or do I belong on the YA side? And we want to get those together in one section, over the YA section of the library where there is more growth room. We've got some Goosebumps, we've got some Nancy Drews, we've got a couple of other books that meet that requisite. But it's going to be a bit of a project. Probably not going to be done with that by the end of the year. After the nonfiction, I do need to go through fiction, but I don't imagine I'm going to pull out a lot there either, because our fiction stats are quite good, print and otherwise.
And also some of these things that Max has talked about, sorry, I think that's the first time I've done that. Also, we'll be going into our strategic plan, talking about collection and space allocation in the library. So, any questions for Max?
I just had a couple comments.
Yes.
When I read through your report, Max, it struck me that you've gotten a lot of work done in a couple of months. That was impressive to me. And the other thing is just your comment about those in-between readers. We are, as a parent, my kid's grown now, but when he was growing up, that was an issue. Finding appropriate things when they're a good reader, there's those years where that's really difficult. So if you have a dedicated area, I think that's really cool. So those are the two things that struck me when I read your report.
Yeah. And with YA, it can be murky too, because it's about reading level and it's about content too.
Right. The content was the problem,
Yeah.
as I recall.
That's the trick.
Yeah. So thank you on that.
Okay, and then we also have a written report from Jean Patrick, and Jean has been out for a good part of the last week with pneumonia. So she was back. Yeah, pneumonia. So she was back today for part of the day at least. So everybody was glad to see her back. So I mean, with me being out, Jean being out, we didn't really have a lot of chance to, touch base on things, but I mean, this is what she's been up to. Any questions on that? Okay, and so then just also our typical usage numbers and gate count, we've already, we're close to surpassing last year's total of 52,000 people in the door. We're over nearly 49,000 after part of November. So we will have more people coming in the library this year than last year. And circulation is already way beyond last year. Last year we had 107,631. That was everything physical and digital. And this year we're already at 126,340. So we're almost double of our digital. Again, we're sharing our collection with the state, with other folks in the state. But our physical items already through October, we are 1,000 more checkouts through October of this year than we were all of last year. So I think that's great. Our program numbers, with Jean also was on vacation, kind of at the end of October. She and her husband got to go to Canada and see their new grandchild, and then she came back and had about that week, and then was out sick. So she hadn't had a chance to get her numbers in for programs and program attendance for October, so those numbers are incomplete. And then here's the graphical display of that. So you can see our circulation numbers were already total-wise over 10,000, nearly 10,000 more than last year. And we have 2 more months, November and December, to add in there. Our monthly circulation continues to be higher for October, the blue column there. Traffic, we were about the same, just a little down in October from last year, October. Let's see, anything else? Oh, I guess revenue-wise, through October, we've also taken in about almost $1,000 more than we did all of 2023. So, any questions about the director's report?
Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the director's report.
I so move.
Second? Thanks, Ann. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. On to the financial report. Approval of
And
bill.
Max is going to take off because he's actually scheduled to work this evening.
Yeah, get to work. Thank you.
Okay. I apologize, I only included this bank statement for September and not October before I've been home for most of this, the last week and a half. I hadn't scanned just the first 2 pages of the statement, and I put the agenda together from home. So I wasn't able to scan just the 2 pages from October. I can get that out to you if you would like. But I'll go back, as of the end of September, we were almost 2,000 more than in our banking. And I know that at the end of the October bank statement, we are up to about 103,800 something. So it went up about $500 in October. And here is September revenue and expenses from just the trustees' accounts. So we had about 2,600, just over $2,600 in income in September compared to 1,553 in last year. And expenses were 1,321 compared to 524. We still had a higher net income in September than we did a year ago. And then for, yes.
Jumped so much there that 3,000%.
Oh,
Paid items and.
That was revenue. So that was we had probably a couple more books that were either damaged or lost that patrons paid for.
So I guess.
Compared to last year, compared to last year, we only had probably one thing and it would cost, they paid a $5.
$5.
Yeah, it was a very inexpensive thing. Yeah,
The book sale doubled, more than doubled. That's awesome.
yeah. September was a good month for book sale. And then in October, same things. Book sale was down a little bit. But our overall revenue for the board account was still higher than last year, and then our expenses were less than last year, so we had more than double net income for October. And then this is year to date. Our total revenue through October, through October at least, nearly $2,400 more in just general revenue. And then with the uncategorized income, that includes, again, uncategorized income is things that every time we count money, we have extra cash in the till, and sometimes people will donate money or, say, oh, just here, keep the change and then use it if somebody else needs to buy something. Well, that never gets recorded then as anything specific because then it doesn't, because people always pay for their own things. So, but we've had over $1,000 in uncategorized income this year so far. So over $4,200 more this year than last year. And our expenses, total expenses are more, but again, we bought those 4 computers, which we didn't last year, and that's probably about, the explanation of that $3,500. So net income-wise, we're higher than last year. And then also the library budget for the city, just at the end of October, salary-wise, we're about 3/4 of the way there. Our part-time, and that's something that I talked to Stephanie Elwine about, that we'll be over in our part-time budget because I've had to schedule part-timers more this year. We've had a couple full-time people, who were gone, who left, and to fill in and help cover, especially on the Saturdays. There were some Saturdays I had to schedule 2 part-timers instead of 1 to help cover the hours. So some of the other things, we're nearing 100%, like in postage. So that's mainly interlibrary loan postage. We tend to, so we'll probably be over their supplies and materials. We're about right on track. E-books, audiobooks are about right on track for 3/4 of the way through. And then down, the one area that we have to get spending more on, and I've said this, is books. And that's something that I'll be talking to Max about. Let's focus on now this next month on ordering a lot more books.
Do you guys take advantage of like Black Friday deals on Amazon or anything?
We can, but I mean, we typically, buy, we have a separate library vendor that we do most of our purchasing from because we get a straight 40% off. And actually, it's also easier. We can send our orders to them electronically from Atrium. So, we like that. But we do have an account with, the city has an account, and I have an account with Amazon, that if we can't get it, or, from our other vendors, then we get it from Amazon.
Where are we on the electronic sign budget slash?
Well,
Is that next year's budget?
that will be next year's budget. And it would, if you notice up here, I'm going to just highlight it here, group insurance, we are only at 60%. We have currently, at the end of October, about 55,000, almost 55,500 left, and because no health insurance is coming out of that. And so, according to Stephanie, we'll probably have close to $50,000 left in that. So that's the line that then we will use to take the city's half out of to transfer to the 2025 budget to pay for half of the sign.
Great.
Yeah. So, any questions about the? We're so far up because, this is, every year that I've been here, the health insurance, the city is self-funded. And I think when Stephanie first was hired, it was in the red, and so they worked hard at raising rates and building up the balance, and the balance was built up really well and actually higher than it needed to be. So every year, my first 2 years, they did a 3-month holiday, October, November, December, where then we didn't have any health insurance premiums taken out of our checks, and the city didn't even have to pay in because the balance was so much in the black. That was in 2020, and then 2021, same thing. In 2022, I think they said it's even higher.
They call it an insurance holiday.
Yeah, so then.
For 3 months.
So then they did another 3 months. In 2023, they did it for 4 months so they increased it a month. And this year, they did it for 4 months as well. And so I think, I haven't heard anything. So the rates won't be going up again. For the last 4 or 5 years, insurance rates haven't premium rates haven't gone up. And the last 3 or 4 months, we haven't even had to have anything taken out of our paychecks for. And then because the city hasn't paid in anything either, then the departmental budget line items for group insurance, there's a remaining balance. So.
That also means they're healthy. If
Yeah.
you're not having someone catastrophically ill, draining that fund.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a combination of things. So that's the financial report. And we didn't have any bills because at the last meeting you all approved to just pre-approve paying the sales tax.
Okay.
So we'll have to have approval of the financial report.
Accept a motion to approve the financial report and approval of bills. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do you have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved. Opposed? Approved. There we go. Item number 7, business items. Item A, action to approve policy updates.
And this is, we talked about this 2 months ago. We are updating our collection development policy with language that will meet the requirements of House Bill 1197. And so we looked at this last meeting, and we still have it, and it's the same. I mean, after reviewing it, and I was comfortable, didn't feel we need to make any additional changes. So we have the statement in the intellectual freedom standards by applying the selection criteria outlined below in this policy. The library determines that the materials it purchases have literary, artistic, political, or scientific value, and therefore do not meet the legal definition of being obscene. Just in general, there's the 3-part definition that the Supreme Court decades ago established for determining if something is obscene or not. And we would never intentionally purchase something that would be obscene. And then near the end, in the expressions of concern, the challenge section, we added the Mitchell Public Library uses the expression of concern procedures for meeting the requirements of, and so that's where we state that this is how we meet the requirements of House Bill 1197, but putting in the actual section of the codified law. This process is how the library determines if any library material is considered obscene as defined by statute. And then we end it by saying if any material is challenged on the basis of being obscene for minors and the challenge is sustained, the material will be restricted to adult checkout only or removed from the collection. So that would mean if somebody fills out the challenge form and then they're saying that it's obscene for minors, which there's a higher standard, or then it would come before the board to determine that as the final arbiter. And so if you all sustained the challenge, agreed with the challenge, then that's what we would do.
And the city legal department's had a chance to look this over, and they're comfortable with it?
Yeah, he was, Justin was, kind of encouraged me to, take kind of the minimalist approach, and he was comfortable with this. I know that, the city of Vermillion attorney had them create actually a whole separate policy just for that, and, Justin was much more, I think, understanding and saying, let's keep it as simple as possible. So any questions or comments on that? And we have to, per HB 1197, we have to have this approved and published on our website by January. So, once you approve it, then I'll update it to change all the font to black and then publish it on our website. And the state library just last week sent out a survey kind of to library directors to find out where libraries are with meeting this requirement. So,
Have you had any challenges?
in the time I've been here, we've had no challenges. The only thing, if you recall, that I reported was, I think in 2022, we had somebody, post something on our Facebook page in response to just an event, and they, posted this statement of, claiming we have, obscene materials in our YA collection or something. And and at that time, I replied privately to the person via Facebook Messenger, saying, if you feel that way, we have a form, we have a procedure to follow, and here's the link to the form, and the person never followed through. The same person, I think, subsequently kind of posted, almost copied and pasted the almost exact same post on one other time. And I don't know if the person, was trying to drum up support for his side, but no person commented in support of his statements. And it never went anything.
Go to other libraries and do this? I mean, was it a local person?
It was, yeah, it was somebody who has an account at our library, yeah. So,
Okay. Board have any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the policy update.
I'll second.
Second by Ann. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. On to funding requests for November.
okay, we have 2 funding requests totaling $900. November is, Native American Month, Heritage Month, and we have scheduled Lyle Miller to give a presentation on Saturday. This kind of came up just in October, and so I went ahead and kind of took my authority that you granted me of approving something up to $500, but I'm bringing this forward as a official request. And then for December, Jean wants to, but I think adult services or YA services may be participating too, of having a family ornament makerspace, involving Marcia Shannon from the high school art department.
Is Lyle Miller's presentation, is it art, or is he just?
Well,
doing
it'll
that?
be, on Native American art.
Okay.
Yeah, because we thought, he's an artist and he's a good artist, but it would be something unique rather than just a generic,
Yeah.
Native American history, but let's look at Native American art, especially. Max has been working with him. I certainly hope that he will talk about, can't think of his name right now. Thank you. That would be appropriate, but there are also many other, current artists. So,
Any further questions?
any?
Do we need to do these individually, or do we do them as a?
In the past, you've approved the requests all at once, or, sometimes you've done them individually and sometimes you've done them en masse.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Deb? Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. On to committee reports.
I just wanted to give you an update. I'll wait till I get back in front of my microphone. I wanted to give you an update on strategic planning process. The committee met twice in October. At our last meeting, State Librarian George Seaman was not ended up not being able to come to Mitchell or not being able to participate at all. But so we kind of had to work through it on our own. But we were to the point by that meeting to kind of select goals that had been ideas that we had generated at previous meetings, and the staff had generated, and some specific strategies as well. And so these are, the goals are the kind of the, well, the ideas that the group, that the committee selected: improving marketing advocacy of library services, maximizing library space, expanding library programming that engages patrons of all ages, and increase outreach throughout the community. And then I plugged in some strategies, specific ideas that we can do to achieve those goals that we had also talked about and got, come up with some ideas. So the digital sign is one of them. Promoting the library on an additional social media channel, providing how-to information on the library website under maximizing library space, reorganizing the collection, create more space for children's and intermediate collections, install better lighting around the interior perimeter, investigate options for conducting a space analysis, and providing a drive-up book return to patrons. For library programming, offer more young adult programming and more adult programming, partner with other organizations in the community to offer programs, and this is also requesting funding to hire an additional librarian, so we would be splitting the adult and young adult position so that we could, achieve strategies 1 and 2. And then outreach, develop better connection with the high school, and establish pop-up library available at various events through the community. Something, Diana, that you sent me that idea 3 years ago already on a media story out from Rapid City. So
And all the strategies were part of the survey that went out. I mean, not all of them, but we combined
yeah.
a bunch of them, but because there are hundreds of comments.
And yeah, and I mean, and some, people made comments of, oh, I wish this, were better or whatever. And so, I mean, some of these ideas then as a community we generated. I think something that I may add as a strategy under, goal B, maximizing library space, that just relates to the digital collection, of continuing to, increase our digital collection, which then doesn't take any physical storage space. But I think having that, because looking at, our numbers, our usage of our digital collection, I think, not forgetting about that and continuing to grow that collection will be beneficial.
So when you say an additional social media channel, you mean like instead of just Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram, probably, or Instagram, or something that younger folks would, But the other thing that I need to be cognizant of is, how much time does it take? So, when we look at that, I'd want to look at something where we could just almost duplicate what we're doing on Facebook, but sending it, to another one that maybe is reaching a different target audience. Well, we don't have, some libraries, have enough staff that they then have one person, and we do it kind of by committee. Jean posts things regarding children's programming, and, Max posts things, and Rachel has posted some things too for, when she's helped out for YA and adult. So, I post things as well. So it's, So any questions about this? So that's kind of the update on that committee. I guess Denny and Deb, do you have anything to add to it, being on the committee?
I do not. It's been an interesting journey so far.
Sure. So once I get back full-time, I also need to be, working on this more and being in contact with George at the State Library to, see how he thinks, if this is the right direction from, based on leading us through, if, based on, since he wasn't at our last meeting, he gave me some notes as to, where we're going, and this is, what we
I
did.
guess my one question is like, for instance, the drive-up book return thing. So is that still come out of our library budget, the board budget? We didn't really have who's paying for all this.
Well,
So-
no, and some of that, but that one, I think, actually, Deb, would be almost no cost. Because I think we have the book return on the east side of the building that's already outside, and it's heavy enough that it's not currently bolted down. So if we would just determine a spot, either on Duff or on Third, we would just need Public Works to come pour probably a 3x3 or 4x4 cement slab. And then we just move it there, and then people could return things. The only thing that we would have to consider safety-wise is, that opens up and then there's a kind of a metal cart inside with a handle, that we pull inside. Well, right now, we just open the door and pull it inside. We would have to pull it up the, wheelchair ramp and we would have to make sure in the winter, to be careful of any ice or whatever. I don't want any employee to slip, pulling up a cart full of books and slip on the ice and injure themselves.
If we
But-
could possibly place it in the library parking lot on the west side, then it could be on the driver's side where a driver could drop it off.
Yeah. That's the other thing is that, okay, if we do it on Duff, yeah, you would almost you would maybe drive north on Duff, pull over, but where we have to make sure, but I would also thought, okay, if we put it in the parking lot, then we just use the existing one, then we don't have a book return on the east side of the building. Is that important? I don't know. It would be sufficient to just say, we're accommodating the need of people not having to come in if they're driving. They could just drive into the parking lot and do it. But we also have to then, if we put it in the parking lot or, somewhere there, do we lose any parking places? The parking lot can be full at times too, so I don't want to, those are some of the issues that we'll have to think about in the future when we make a decision.
The better lighting around the interior perimeter, you've already worked on that.
Well, yeah, that's something that,
Still a work in progress?
yes, that will also be something that is in the 2025 budget. So, we can check that off. We get the plan in place, and, there's some things that hopefully right away in 2025, we can check off, and then as George Seaman described the process, then we can add some additional strategies.
So is there more lighting coming, or is that project complete?
No, that'll be coming in 2025, because the money's budgeted in 2025.
It really is dark. I thought God was talking to me one day, seriously. It was Jean, and she says, I'm deaf, and I was like, she was sitting on a black chair kind of, and I seriously didn't see her back in the corner. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. And she has that desk there in the children's area where, she's stationed there often, and it's, for her to work, but also just the children's area, there are the series books that it's difficult to, read the call numbers. And then over by romance and mystery too, it's difficult to read the call numbers. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where we are with the strategic plan.
Any further board input on any other subjects except the strategic plan? I see none. Citizens input, no one is here tonight. Adjournment, and then we should set the next meeting, which would be the third Monday of January, which follows, or the third Tuesday of January, which follows Martin Luther King Day. Does that cause a problem with city council using?
Yeah, that will be, come on. This computer won't pop up the, let's do it that, doesn't want me to do it that way.
So do we want to move our meeting to the following week, is that what you're saying? Or we've gone, kind of in the library other times?
Yeah, I mean, typically, we've done, I mean, with Susan won't be able to make it, so I mean, we've often done the Tuesday, the next day, the third Tuesday of the month. So that would be,
Yeah, that's when we normally have it.
I mean, no, we've done it the fourth Tuesday. In past years, do we do it the fourth Tuesday? Because I don't think that we did it on a Wednesday.
I would say probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
So the 20th is Martin Luther King, so,
I have that we met last year on the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day.
Did we?
That was the third, oh, God, it was the fourth, sorry. We went on the fourth.
on the fourth Tuesday, yeah. I mean, typically, we pushed it back a week, too. So that would be the 28th of January. the
Does
fourth
anyone have a
Tuesday.
problem with the 28th, the fourth Tuesday of January? Okay, we will set it then for the 28th of January,
2025.
2025,
At 5.
here at council chambers.
28.
Okay, any other business for the good of the board tonight? Seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting, and I have
6:02.
6:02 p.m.
January 28th.